Welcome to Experiments in Happiness with Michelle Lemus, the podcast for high achieving women who've checked all the boxes but still feel something's missing.
There's a moment many women reach where the problem isn't that life is bad. Nothing is actively wrong. Nothing is falling apart. There's no obvious emergency demanding your attention. From the outside, things look fine, good even. But inside, life feels heavy. Not heavy because everything is broken. Heavy because everything feels like it has to be just right. The right choice, the right response, the right tone, the right version of you, the right outcome. Every decision carries weight. Every interaction feels like it matters more than it should. There's a constant background hum of self monitoring. Am I doing this correctly? Am I handling this well enough? Did I say that the right way? And somewhere inside that constant striving, happiness becomes conditional. I'll feel better when this is done. I'll relax once I do this properly. I'll enjoy this when it's finished, when it's perfect. But what if that's the very thing standing in the way? Perfectionism doesn't always announce itself loudly. It doesn't always look like rigid rules or impossibly high standards. Sometimes it looks like effort, care, responsibility. It looks like rewriting the email one more time, not because it's wrong, but because it could be better. It looks like replaying conversations after they're over, scanning for missteps. It looks like pushing past your limits because you should be able to handle it. It looks like postponing rest until you've earned it. It looks like delaying joy until everything feels settled. And because these behaviors are praised, rewarded even. Perfectionism often hides in plain sight. It gets mistaken for excellence, for integrity, for commitment. But here's the cost no one really names. When nothing is ever enough, nothing is ever enjoyed. You don't experience completion, you experience relief that doesn't last. You don't savor progress, you move the goalpost. You don't rest, you pause just long enough to keep going. And over time, that creates a particular kind of exhaustion, not the tiredness that comes from effort, the tiredness that comes from never landing. For many high achieving women, the phrase good enough can feel deeply uncomfortable, almost unsafe. It can sound like slacking, like settling, like letting yourself or someone else down, especially if you learned early that doing things well kept you safe, kept you praised, kept you valued, kept you needed. If performance was tied to approval, if competence was tied to belonging, then of course letting things be imperfect feels risky. Your nervous system learned a very specific equation. Doing it right equals safety. So when someone suggests easing up, your body doesn't hear wisdom. It hears danger. But good enough isn't about carelessness. It's about discernment. It's about deciding what actually deserves your full intensity and what doesn't. Perfection keeps the nervous system in a constant state of vigilance, scanning for mistakes, anticipating judgment, bracing for what could go wrong next. That state doesn't just drain energy, it restricts access to joy. Your system cannot fully register pleasure, ease, or satisfaction while it's on high alert. So even when things are objectively good, they don't feel good. You might check all the boxes and still feel unsettled. You might accomplish a lot and still feel empty. That's not because you're ungrateful. It's because your system hasn't been allowed to rest inside enough. Here's the reframe that changes everything. Good enough isn't about lowering the bar. It's about choosing where the bar actually matters. It's about recognizing that not everything deserves your nervous system on edge. Not everything needs to be optimized. Not everything needs to be perfected. Some things just need to be done. Some conversations just need to be honest. Some days just need to pass without self judgment. That's not failure. That's wisdom. When you let things be good enough, something subtle but profound happens. You finish. Not rush finish, complete. You rest without negotiating with yourself. You enjoy moments without mentally improving them. You stop withholding satisfaction from yourself, and happiness doesn't return dramatically. It returns quietly, in presence, in relief, in the absence of pressure, in the moment where you realize your shoulders have dropped, where your breath deepens without effort, where you notice you're no longer bracing. That's happiness. Not the euphoric kind, the sustainable kind, the kind that comes from letting yourself arrive. And because we don't just talk about ideas here, we test them, I want to offer you a gentle experiment. For 1 week, choose one area of your life where you will intentionally aim for good enough. Just one. Not your work and your relationships and your health. One contained space. Decide in advance what good enough looks like there, not vaguely, specifically. And when you reach that point, stop, even if the urge to keep going is loud, especially if the urge to keep going is loud. That might look like sending the email once it's clear, not perfect. Ending the workday on time, even if there's more you could do. Cooking something simple instead of impressive. Letting a conversation end without fixing it. Sharing something without over editing. Your job is not to judge the outcome. Your job is to notice what happens in your body. At first, there's often discomfort, a flicker of anxiety, a voice that says, you should do more. Sit with that. That voice is old conditioning. And then something opens. Space you didn't realize you were giving away. Time that was being consumed by over control. Energy that had been locked in vigilance. A surprising sense of calm. That's happiness returning, not through achievement, through permission. And if this idea makes you nervous, if part of you worries that good enough means giving up, hear this. Good enough is not the opposite of excellence. It's the foundation of sustainability. You don't need to earn rest by overperforming. You don't need to justify ease by exhausting yourself first. Peace doesn't come from doing more. It comes from demanding less of yourself. You're allowed to let things be finished. You're allowed to let moments be imperfect. You're allowed to enjoy what's already here. So we'll keep experimenting because happiness isn't found in getting everything right. It's found in finally letting yourself live inside what's already good enough.
Thanks for listening to Experiments in Happiness. You can find more tools and resources at experimentsinhappiness.com.